Good morning, students and families. First and foremost, if you would like a PDF copy of the story or the quiz, send me a message on Parent Square and I will forward those to you. If at any point during the story while you're watching this, you want your child to read this by themselves, just hit pause and the text will be on the screen and you can do that. Same thing with the quiz. I will read all the questions first and then you can hit pause and try to answer them yourselves and then unpause and I will give you guys the answers, okay? Sound good? Today we're going to talk about a skill that's going to help us a lot, especially in nonfiction. And that skill is previewing our glossary before we read. Our glossary is full of words that pertain to the story that we might not be familiar with yet. Reading it, checking out your glossary before you start reading is going to help build some background knowledge on what you're going to read for the day. Okay? This is just a tip I tell kids because sometimes it can get confusing reading the story, flipping back and forth to the glossary when you find these new words. If you take a look at it before you start reading, sometimes you become a little more familiar with those words, and that flipping back and forth is not as necessary. So in our glossary for our story today, our story is called I Fly Hot Air Balloons. The first word is fuel, and fuel is anything used to make heat or power. We put fuel in our cars. We have fuel for our stoves or our grills outside, right? Propane. Fuel is anything that uses heat or power. Nylon. Our second word is nylon. Nylon is a strong, slippery, human-made fabric. Okay? So when we see the word nylon, we know it is a strong, slippery, human-made fabric. Oxygen. Oxygen is a gas that has no color, taste, or smell that people need to live. We breathe in oxygen every single day, folks. Satellites are objects that orbit Earth or another body in space. Okay, we've seen pictures of satellites and how they rotate around the Earth, right? That's a satellite. And this word right here, scenery, is the features of a landscape. Okay, scenery is the features of a landscape. So the things you see when you look out your window on a car ride. Okay, scenery. So now that we've pre-read some of these words, hopefully when we read through our story, it's going to make it, we're going to be familiar with them, okay? We're not going to have to flip from the story back to the glossary, from the story to the glossary, story. You guys get the idea, right? It's just going to make it a little easier for us. So our story is called I Fly Hot Air Balloons, an interview with Dan Saul conducted by Kathy Lester. So the cool thing about this nonfiction book is it's actually an interview. We're reading questions that someone has asked someone that works with hot air balloons, and we're getting to read their responses. Introduction. Flying hot air balloons is a fun and beautiful sport. Bright balloons fly slowly and silently through the air. Dan Saul has been flying hot air balloons since 1979. The balloon. Interviewer. How does a hot air balloon fly? A balloon flies because it's full of hot air. Hot air rises when the air around it is cooler. The pilot blows up the balloon with a strong fan. Then a large burner heats the air inside the balloon. Another tip for nonfiction, anytime you see a diagram like this where it's explaining something, read it. Take the time to read it. I know lots and lots of my friends in first grade, second, all the way up through sixth grade, they just go on to the next page. Take the time to read it. It's going to help you understand the story better. So, blowing up a hot air balloon. The first step, crew members carefully spread the envelope and check to make sure nothing is twisted. Our second step is a fan starts blowing up the balloon and then the burners are turned on. Then our third step, now the crew can guide the balloon to stand upright. Once again, we have a picture with a text box. We need to make sure to read these, okay? Do you know a hot air balloon could be as big as 4 houses? The baskets usually carry 3 to 5 people, but they come in many sizes. There are smaller balloons built for 1 person, and there are big ones for up to 22 people. That's a lot of people to fit in a balloon. Mr. H is probably not going to get in one of those. I don't like heights. Interviewer. What's the balloon made of? Dan, it's made of strong nylon that doesn't tear easily. You notice the word nylon is in bold? If I do want to flip back to my glossary, remember that nylon is a strong, slippery substance, or a strong, slippery human-made fabric, okay? So that's what the outside of the balloon is made of. Interviewer, what do you carry in the basket? Dan, We carry fuel tanks. You remember fuel is something you burn for energy, right? We remember that from our glossary. Tools and people. The tools tell us how high the balloon is and the temperature of the air. They also tell us where we are. Okay? We have a picture with, it's more like a diagram, right? It's pointing and telling us what these things are. Make sure to pay attention to those. That's what their burner looks like. That's what the fuel tanks inside the basket look like. And this is the basket that you stand in. Okay? Flying. How do you steer? Dan, the wind goes in different directions at different heights. We go up and down to find the wind that goes the way we want to go. We fly just after sunrise or before sunset. That's when the winds are the best. Interviewer, how do you make the balloon go up and down? Something Mr. H has always wondered. Dan, there is a hole at the top of the balloon. We can open it and close it with a cord. To go down, we open up the hole to let out hot air. To go up, we close the hole. The parachute or center circle of fabric on the top of the hot air balloon opens and closes to move a balloon up and down. Very interesting. I didn't know that. Interviewer. Well, before we do that, we have a picture with a caption. Special hot air balloons can fly very high. Interviewer. How high can you go? Dan. Some people take balloons 10 miles in the air. They have to wear oxygen. You guys remember oxygen, right? It's the thing we all breathe to help keep us alive. From our glossary, oxygen tanks so they have enough air to breathe, but most stay within 2 miles of the surface. It says these tools help balloonists know how high they are and where they are on a map. Interviewer, how do you know where you are? We use radio signals from satellites and then follow them and then follow on a map. So if I go back to glossary, satellites, objects that orbit Earth or another body in space. Okay. Interview. How did you start flying hot air balloons? Dan, I fixed balloons before I flew them. My first flight was so much fun that I kept doing it. Do you know many cities hold balloon festivals each year? Pilots come to fly their balloons, and people come to see many beautiful balloons in the air at once. Balloons over the Mississippi River. What is the longest trip you ever took in a balloon? Dan, my longest balloon trip was 55 miles. I flew right up the Mississippi River. Some people go on much longer trips. Hot air balloons can hover a few feet off the ground or hundreds of feet. Interviewer, is it dangerous to fly a hot air balloon? Dan, no, it's a safe sport. A balloon is like a big pillow. We make sure the weather will be good before we fly so we stay safe. Interviewer, are you ever scared when you fly? Dan, no, I find it exciting. I like flying best in the fall when the leaves are different colors. The scenery, or the features of a landscape, is beautiful from high in the air. Okay? And that's our story. So pre-reading the glossary before we read the story helps us understand what's going to happen in the story a little bit better. Helps us become familiar with words we might not originally know. To the quiz. Question 1. What is the main idea of the book? A. Flying hot air balloons is a safe sport. B. Flying hot air balloons is a fun and beautiful sport. C. Dan's longest balloon trip was 55 miles. Or D. The balloon is made of strong nylon. What is the main idea of the book? Question 2. How are balloons different from most other kinds of flying machines? A. Balloons fly slowly. B. Balloons fly silently. C. Balloon passengers ride in the basket. Or D. All of the above. 3. The main purpose of this book is to A. Tell Dan Saul's biography. B. Give information about hot air balloons. C. Show the reader correct interview style. Or D. Describe the beauty of a hot air balloon. Question 4. What is the most likely reason the interviewer chose Dan Saul to interview? A. Dan Saul has been flying balloons since 1979. B. No one else was around. C. Dan Saul lived close to the balloons. Or D. The interviewer had a deadline to meet. 5. A hot air balloon rises because of A. The air around it is cooler. B. The tie-down ropes are cut. C. The wind steers it. Or D. The brake is released. 6. Which of the following items can a person safely fly a balloon without? A. Passengers. B. Fuel tanks. C. Tools. D. None of the above. Hot air balloons are made of a strong, slippery fabric called, hint, hint, hint in your glossary, A. Nylon. B. Oxygen. C. Scenery. Or D. None of the above. 8. What is the best time to fly a hot air balloon? A. On a cloudless day. B. At high noon. C. When temperatures are above 70. or D, after sunrise and before sunset? Question 9. A person who flew a balloon 10 miles high without oxygen tanks would A, need to come down after 15 minutes, B, not be able to breathe, C, need to use a larger balloon, D, need to wear extra clothes. 10. Is it safe to fly a hot air balloon? It is safe, to fly a hot air balloon when A, the weather is good, B, you're in a hurry, C, the passengers are calm, or D, you don't have far to travel. 11 is an extended response. We're not going to answer that, but I'll still ask it anyway. This is something you can answer with someone at home. You can write down the answer, whatever you want to do. All right. What is the process involved in steering a hot air balloon? Okay. If you want to answer those questions at home by yourself, hit pause. If not, just continue watching. So number 1, what is the main idea of the book? I think the main idea of the book is B, flying hot air balloons is a fun and beautiful sport. Everything Dan talked about kind of came back to that point. It's a fun and beautiful sport. Okay. 2, how are balloons different from most other kinds of machines? The answer is D. Balloons fly slowly when just about everything else that flies very fast, right? Airplanes fly very fast. And that's how balloons are different. Balloons fly silently. They're very quiet. And you can hear airplanes in the sky, right? So we know they're loud. C, passengers ride in a basket. Mr. H would never get on a plane. That's where I'm riding in a basket. Okay, straight up. Not going to happen. Balloon passengers ride in a basket. That's how they're different from other kinds of flying machines. So the answer is D, all of the above. 3, the main purpose of this book is to B, give information about hot air balloons. Okay. 4, what is the most likely reason the interviewer chose Dan Saul to interview? A, Dan has been flying balloons since 1979. That's a long time to be flying balloons. So she's going to want his opinion because he probably knows a lot about it. 5, a hot air balloon rises because the air around it is cooler, right? Choice A. Remember when they fill it with hot air, the air around it's cooler and it causes it to rise? 6, which of the following items can a person safely fly a balloon without? And the answer is passengers, okay? Because B, you need the fuel tanks to make it go, and C, you need the tools to tell you the air conditions are right and all of the things they use tools for. So A balloon can fly safely without passengers. 7, hot air balloons are made of a strong, slippery fabric called, hint, hint, it was in our glossary, that would be nylon, strong, slippery, human-made fabric, okay? 8, what is the best time to fly a hot air balloon? The best time is D, after sunrise and before sunset. Okay, I said that back in the text. 9, a person who flew a balloon 10 miles high without oxygen tanks would, and that is, wouldn't be not be able to breathe, right? The reason, if they fly so high, they need the oxygen tanks because the oxygen is thinner up there, is what the story said. And 10 is safe to fly a hot air balloon when A, the weather is good. Okay, if you're in a hurry, you might forget something. And I think with 10, A ends up being the best answer, which is when the weather is good. That's when it is the safest to fly a hot air balloon. Was a process involved in steering a hot air balloon? Okay, discuss that with someone at home. You can go back into the text for evidence if you need to. Okay, guys? All right, if you have any questions, please message me on Parent Square. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.